All right, let's try that one time. Man, well, that sucks for everybody at home because I just did like the most awesome live stream ever. Um, looking like for about probably 30 minutes, 30 straight minutes. Um, the best live stream ever for like 30 you know 20 30 minutes. I mean, the stuff that I just said was so compelling and so breathtaking. let me tell you let me tell you, so compelling and so breathtaking. I can't even. All right, so we're gonna pop these guys over here for a second. The commentary was off the chain, folks. I mean, I know you could see the passion in my eyes, even though you could not hear the words coming out of my mouth because the microphone was off because we've just recently switched over to this system here. So that's pretty cool. That's new. That's unique. But it's a learning experience, I guess. Definitely feel like we learned a lot. Definitely feel like we learned a lot just now. So that's good. That's really exciting. So let's jump into the theme music and we'll try that again since everybody's still here. No theme music? Okay. Well, you think I would test the systems or something like that before this whole thing gets started? That would have probably helped pretty good. We'll check this out. All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Chainsaw, I guess. Sometimes we'll scratch that and we'll just jump right into it here. So let's see. All right, so jury finds Rittenhouse not guilty in Kenosha shootings. Let's jump into it. All right, so Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on all charges Friday. We're still doing that? Okay. Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted of all charges Friday after testifying he acted in self-defense in the deadly Kenosha shootings that became a flashpoint in the debate over guns, vigilantism, and racial injustice in the U.S. Rittenhouse, 18, began to choke up, fell forward toward the defense table, and then hugged one of his attorneys as he heard a court clerk recite a not guilty verdict. Let's see. See. Rittenhouse, 18, began to choke up, fell forward toward the defense table, and then hugged one of his attorneys as he heard a court clerk recite not guilty 5 times. A sheriff's deputy whisked him out back door. He wants to get on with his life. Defense attorney Mark Richards said he has a huge sense of relief for what the jury did to him today. He wishes none of this ever happened, but as he said, when he testified, he did not start this. The verdict in the politically combustible case was met with anger and disappointment from those who saw Rittenhouse as a vigilante and a wannabe cop, and relief and a sense of vindication from those who regarded him as a patriot who took a stand against lawlessness and exercised his Second Amendment right to carry a gun and to defend himself. Supporters donated more than $2 million toward his legal defense. The Reverend Jesse Jackson, the longtime civil rights leader, said the verdict throws into doubt the safety of people who protest in support of Black Americans. It seems to me that it's open season on human rights demonstrators, he said. Rittenhouse was charged with homicide, attempted homicide, and reckless endangerment. reckless endangering for killing 2 men and wounding a third with an AR-style semi-automatic rifle in the summer of 2020. Also, a tumultuous night of protests over the shooting of a black man, Jacob Blake, by a white Kenosha police officer. Rittenhouse, then a 17-year-old former police youth cadet, said he went to Kenosha to protect property from rioters, but that he came under attack and feared for his life. He's white, as were those he shot. The anonymous jury, whose racial makeup was not disclosed by the court, appeared to be overwhelmingly white, deliberated for close to 3.5 days. President Joe Biden called for calm, saying that while the outcome of the case will leave many Americans feeling angry and concerned, myself included, we must acknowledge that the jury has spoken. Former President Donald Trump, who at the time of the shootings said it appeared Rittenhouse had been very violently attacked, issued a statement Friday congratulating Rittenhouse on the verdict, adding, "If that's not self-defense, nothing is." Rittenhouse could have gotten life in prison if found guilty on the most serious charge, first-degree intentional homicide, or what some other states call first-degree murder. 2 other charges, each carried over 60 years behind bars. Kenosha County District Attorney Michael Gravely said his office respects the jury's decision, and he asked the public to accept the verdicts peacefully and not resort to violence. Ahead of the verdict, Democratic Governor Tony Evers announced that 500 National Guard members stood ready in case of trouble, but hours after the jury came back, there were no signs of any major protests in Kenosha. As he released the jurors, Circuit Judge Bruce Schrader assured them that court would take every measure to keep them safe. Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who is black and a Democrat candidate for U.S. Senate, denounced the outcome. He, like many civil rights activists, saw a racial double standard at work in this case, which I guess the proof will be in the pudding, depending on what happens with the, Ahmaud Arbery case, right? Over the last few weeks, many dreaded the outcome we just witnessed, Barnes said. The presumption of innocence until proven guilty is what we would expect from our judicial system, but that standard is not always applied equally. We've seen so many black and brown youth killed, only to be put on a trial posthumously, while the innocence of Kyle Rittenhouse was virtually demanded by the judge. Other political factors on the right welcomed the verdict and condemned the case brought against Rittenhouse. Mark McCloskey, who got in trouble with the law, and I'm not friends with on Facebook, who got in trouble with the law when he and his wife waved a rifle and a handgun at Black Lives Matter protesters marching past his St. Louis home in 2020 on the way to the, I believe it was the mayor's house there, because she just doxed a bunch of people in St. Louis because, they were criticizing her online, or no, what was it? She put out it was some kind of a, oh God, what was it? Now I'm gonna have to Google it. That's what it was. It was some kind of a document, some kind of a form, some kind of a, something or other. And folks were signing up with their name, address, phone. She basically made this information public in order to punish those folks and, piss them off. And so they went to her house to protest, obviously, because she was pissed off because she was being criticized because, you're in the government. The taxpayer dollars are paying your rent and for your lifestyle that you've become accustomed to. So she doxed them. So they went to go protest. On the way to the protest, they passed by these whack jobs' house, who I am not friends with on Facebook. That's a thing. And yeah, next thing you know, they're pointing guns at folks too. It's a fun thing. But, so Mark McCupcake said the verdict shows that people have a right to defend themselves from a mob. He's now a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate Missouri. We'll see how that works out for him. 15 minutes after the verdicts, the National Rifle Association tweeted the text of the Second Amendment, because we all know that the NRA has a whole lot to say these days. Didn't they just get in trouble for, didn't Josh Hawley just get in trouble because they were using underhanded means to get money to him and a bunch of other Republican candidates from Missouri? I'm pretty sure that was a thing. Just recently, actually. But, it's kind of shocking. They should probably just hope to God that people forget about that for another 15 years, or forget that they exist. The Kenosha case was part of an extraordinary confluence of trials that reflected the deep divide over race in the United States and Georgia. 3 white men are on trial in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, while in Virginia, a trial is underway in a lawsuit over the deadly white supremacist rally held in Charlottesville in 2017. The bloodshed in Kenosha took place during a summer of sometimes violent protests set off across the U.S. by the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis and other cases involving the police use of force against black people. Rittenhouse went to Kenosha from his home in Antioch, Illinois, after businesses were ransacked, burned in the nights that followed Blake's shooting. He joined the armed civilians on the street carrying a weapon authorities said was illegally purchased for him because he was underage. Yeah, it turns out they skirted the to paraphrase my new best friend Tim Timmy, who has been reaching out to me on social media. They creeped the bylaws just enough to get that in. And we'll jump into that here in just a second here. So, bystander and drone video captured most of the frenzied chain of events that followed. Rittenhouse killed Joseph Rosenbaum, 36, then shot to death protester Anthony Huber, 26, and wounded demonstrator Gage Grosskreutz, now 28. Prosecutors portrayed Rittenhouse as a wannabe soldier who had gone looking for trouble that night and was responsible for creating a dangerous situation in the first place by pointing his rifle at demonstrators. Rittenhouse testified, "I didn't do anything wrong. I defended myself," breaking into sobs at one point. He told the jury he opened fire after Rosenbaum chased him, grabbed for his gun. He said he was afraid his rifle was going to be wrested away and used to kill him. Huber was then killed after hitting Rittenhouse in the head or neck with a skateboard, and Grosskreutz was shot after approaching with his own pistol in hand. Now, under questioning from the prosecution, Grosskreutz said he had his hands raised as he closed in on Rittenhouse and didn't intend to shoot the young man. Prosecutor Thomas Bingers asked Grosskreutz why he didn't shoot first. "That's not the kind of person I am. That's not why I was out there," he said. "It's not who I am, and definitely not somebody I want to become." So that's not the kind of person he is. That's not why he was out there. Of course, he was armed. Of course, the other guy was armed too. He just shot 2 people. So we'll go with that. But during cross-examination, Rittenhouse defense attorney Corey Chirafisi asked, it wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, that he fired, right? Correct, Grosskreutz replied. The defense also presented a photo showing Grosskreutz pointing the gun at Rittenhouse, who was on the ground with his rifle pointed up at Grosskreutz. Grosskreutz, under follow-up questioning from the prosecutor, said he did not intend to point his weapon at Rittenhouse. After the verdict, Huber's parents, Karen Bloom and John Huber, said the outcome sends the unacceptable message that armed civilians can show up in any town, incite violence, and then use the danger they've created to justify shooting people in the street. Rittenhouse's mother, Wendy Rittenhouse, seated near her son on a courtroom bench, gasped in delight, cried, and hugged others around her. Richards, the defense attorney, said that Rittenhouse wants to be a nurse and that he is in counseling for post-traumatic stress disorder and will probably move away because it's too dangerous for him to continue to live in the area. Well, by golly gosh, you know, it just is, oh no. Maybe the kid could have just stayed home. I mean, if you didn't think so, before this case went to trial, that whole last little paragraph should have just done it for you. Maybe the 17-year-old child should have just stayed home. Maybe his dumbass mother shouldn't have helped to arm her 17-year-old child. It's too dangerous. I mean, it's too dangerous for him. This guy's an American hero, right? It's too dangerous. Are you kidding me? What do you mean he's post-traumatic stress disorder? What? I thought this was a different kind of thing, but you know, I guess now we got sympathy for the true victim in all of this. Was a kid who just couldn't, you know, stay in bed that night. Should have stayed in school. This is all Biden's fault anyway. Oh wait, this was last year. That's still probably Biden's fault. Just like gas prices. Jesus Christ, I lost my spot here. Going in, many legal experts said they believe the defense had the advantage because of provisions favorable to Rittenhouse in Wisconsin self-defense law and videos showing him being chased at key moments. Testimony from the prosecution's own witnesses also seemed to buttress his claim of self-defense. Some witnesses described Rosenbaum as hyper-aggressive and said that he dared others to shoot him and threatened to kill Rittenhouse earlier that night. Others said he acted belligerently, but did not appear to pose a serious threat. You know, I actually watched this stuff as it was as it was going down. I mean, the guy was obviously off his freaking rocker. That's true. I mean, you know, we'll go with that. A videographer testified Rosenbaum lunged for the rifle just before he was shot. A pathologist said his injuries appeared to indicate his hand was over the barrel. Yikes. Also, Rosenbaum's fiance disclosed that he was on medication for bipolar disorder and depression. Rittenhouse's lawyers branded Rosenbaum a crazy person. Rittenhouse had also been charged with possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18, a misdemeanor that carries 9 months behind bars and appeared likely to lead to a conviction, but the judge threw that charge out before deliberations after the defense argued that Wisconsin law did not apply to the long-barreled rifle used by Rittenhouse. The verdict ends the criminal case against Rittenhouse. He does... Pull this up here. He does not face any federal charges, and he's unlikely to because federal law only applies in very limited cases for homicides. No civil lawsuits have been brought against Rittenhouse yet either, but there are lawsuits targeting others. Huber's family is suing police and government officials in Kenosha, alleging that they allowed for a dangerous situation that resulted in his son's death, and Grosskreutz had a similar lawsuit. A group of protesters has sued the city and county of Kenosha, alleging that curfew laws were enforced against them, but not against armed people like Rittenhouse. Now, if you were there, you know, when this all happened, if you saw on social media, I recall, of course, a lot of this stuff has been deleted from Facebook, conveniently. But there were calls to action all you know, all over some of these local groups, armed militias, you know, the 3%ers, the Proud Boys, and, you know, these goofy white supremacist groups who act like these jackwagons. We're calling for people to come up there and, you know, fight, you know, to take America back. We're going to save America and all this whatnot. Right. Sounds familiar, but, yeah, that was a thing. I mean, there were even people who were, you know, alleging themselves that they were either military, law enforcement, or retired law enforcement. Now, I could jump on Facebook and tell you all day that I work for the CIA, but that don't mean that I'm not, you know, full of baloney. I could jump on there and tell you that I'm, you know, FBI, that I'm a retired sheriff, that I, you know, that I'm a veteran engineer, you know, that I'm a Navy freaking SEAL. You know, I can jump on social media all day and say this stuff. And there's not really a whole lot that Facebook's, you know, really trying to put forth about, you know, doing anything about this. Hard to kind of verify. Look at all the fake profiles that comment all over my stuff. You see these guys all over the place. You know, folks with these crazy names and like pictures of a cat. That's a thing. But, you know, and just spewing hate because they're completely anonymous, of course. And, you know, no matter how many times you report them, Facebook seems to think that because they've got a profile that stretches back before 2018 that they must be real people. Just, you know, real people with real problems, right? But, you know, so that's a thing. But these people who had these things on their profile, I don't know if any police officers were actually calling for, you know, we're involved in these militias and we're calling for folks to come up here. I don't know if anybody in any kind of law enforcement at all was actually calling for people to come up here and protect their businesses and, support the white supremacist movement that they were pushing, right? The white power agenda that they were pushing. But I do know that I saw a lot of that stuff on social media at the time, and it was pretty freaking disgusting, bro. I just gotta say, but that's a thing. It's a shocking thing, but it's definitely a thing. Now let me see if I can find because I pulled up a few of these here, and I wanted to share with the class. Let's see, because we're gonna get into to Governor Mikey P in just a bit, but I don't want to ruin the fun with that just yet. So let's see here. Because I saw a few of these live stream videos also of, other folks doing live streams of the protests, of the stuff that was happening. So let's see if we can jump into some of these here. Let's see. You know what the hell? We'll watch this for a little bit. See what's shaking down. Probably helps we got some volume, right?
I haven't even spoke.
Okay, respect. I respect you. You called me out on my bullshit. But when we came up here, we were talking to these other two gentlemen.
Oh, I'm not disputing that. I'm talking
but
right here.
I'm glad that you're listening, though. I'm glad that you are.
I can't learn if I don't listen.
But what I want to say to you right now is that I want to elevate. We all want to elevate with you, right? But we can't go up if we haven't even looked at the wounds that are still impacting us today. Wait. I just want to mention something real quick. The 13th Amendment that freed us, right? It says that unless you are duly convicted of a crime by the state, you cannot be a slave. So that means if you're a criminal, you can be a slave. And I don't know if you know the history of this. Look it up on Netflix. It's called 13th, really easy to remember. And it goes from slavery and to how the system that is holding so many of our people away from families and job opportunities. Wait, let me finish, please.
Call it our people, because he's saying we're all people.
Okay,
so
I'm saying
we got it. It's in the language. It's in the language.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
All right. Let me rephrase.
That's where I'm just trying to emphasize.
The people who look like me and have my experience and the black experience, not the African experience, the black experience in this country.
It's completely
because wait. Let me finish, my guy. Because of why did we come to this continent? And then when they decided to change their mind on that decision, the 13th Amendment was put into place so that.
All right, so let's take a look at some Fox News here. I know this is everybody's favorite news channel here. This is the looking like the defense attorney reaction.
Lost, wouldn't have mattered.
Kyle had aspirations to be a first responder. Is that still?
He wants to be a nurse.
Still wants to be a nurse.
What would you say your big takeaway is from this 25+ hour jury deliberation? What do you think that says?
I need to be more patient.
Now that he has been acquitted, can you look back and point to a pivotal moment that was successful for you, that you think created this outcome?
Getting rid of the first two lawyers. And, that might be a smart alecky comment, but I mean that. And I got my best friend, Corey, to join, who I trust. And to be able to work with somebody who you don't have to check their work, you don't worry about what they're going to be doing, you give them a project and it's done as good or better as you do yourself, it's priceless.
There's been a lot of commentary on the prosecutor's performance in this case. What would you say being up there with him every day? You must have got here a little bit late. I've known Tom Binger for a long time. I knew him when he was a civil lawyer. I'm disappointed with some of the things he did, and I've said why. Such as what?
Putting on the Kandiri brothers when you know they're lying. Changing your prosecution, going with provocation after you say that my client chased him down and shot him in the back. Calling him an active shooter when he's not. justice is done when the truth is reached, and I don't know that it's set up to do that, but a prosecutor is supposed to seek the truth. It's not about winning, and this case became about winning, and that's probably why it got so personal.
How about the judge? What do you say about how the judge handled the case?
You know, I've never seen so much made of so little, and that's not to pick on you guys or anything like that, but I've tried cases as a prosecutor 100 years ago in front of Judge Schrader. I've tried cases as a defense lawyer, and him and I butted heads as a defense lawyer. Judge Schrader gives you a fair trial as a defendant. You don't want him to sentence your client, okay?
So just for clarity here, pulling this up to show, let's see. This is from the Chicago Tribune, so take it where you will. But yeah, so disruptive but non-violent protesters gathered in Loop following Kyle Rittenhouse non-guilty verdict. A couple dozen people gathered on Friday, a night at Federal Plaza on the Loop, where speakers decried what they have called an unjust Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. He's part of a whole fascist movement that's gaining ground around the country, and it will not stop until we recognize it and take matters into our own hands non-violently, refusing to accept a racist America, said Jay Becker, who spoke at the event, which began around 6 p.m. Now, Friday afternoon, a Kenosha County jury acquitted Kyle Rittenhouse of all charges against him, finding the teenage gunman acted in self-defense when he fatally shot 2 men and wounded a third in downtown Kenosha, August 25th, 2020. All 4 were in the southeast Wisconsin town amid social unrest following the shooting of Jacob Blake, a black man, by a white police officer. Lamar Whitfield, another attendee who delivered the comments, was in Wisconsin protesting since the trial started. Shortly arriving back to Chicago, he joined in March. And so that's, if you're wondering, you know, why I brought this up as far as the demonstrations, that would be it. So let's see. So just to kind of end on this, at least for with regards to the trial and the verdict here. I made some promises earlier today that I would share with the class. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. These are just some of my favorite, just some of my favorite comments from social media. Of course, I had posted on social media, kind of all over the place earlier in the day after the verdict was reached. See if I can pull that up real quick. Oh, we've got some more. So per the tweet and then per the post, I said a quick opinion poll. Of course, leave a comment down below with your thoughts. They may be featured in tonight's show. No one is surprised, and yet everyone is surprised. Was justice served? And I gotta say, I was surprised by the amount of feedback. So we'll just jump right into that. Of course, I mentioned that anytime I do get feedback from folks on social media, of course, when I repost it on the show, you know, I don't include last names, so virtually anonymous. Because I get a lot of whack jobs out there. Some of these whack jobs you'll find in the comments of some of the stuff that I post on social media. You know, the stalker types, it's just kind of what you come with. But so even if you disagree with my opinion, that's perfectly fine. Makes for a great conversation. And I will help to, you know, ensure at least a partial anonymity. But so in response to my question, you know, was justice served by the verdict? Clyde says absolutely. Rick says hell yes. Don't really know how to keep this one anonymous because you know, I tried Googling to see you know, what is his name that popped on some of the comments here. And I wasn't really sure, where this person was from. So we'll just call him Q, because that kind of seems appropriate anyway. But the comment was, justice was served. God bless everyone. Don't look. Energy drinks are bad, kids. Stick with coffee. But so Q writes, justice was served. God bless everyone. Mary responds, infuriating. Galen responds, yes, it was. Jim responds, hopefully civil suits will make that guy a poor guy for the rest of his life. OJ got off, but he still had to pay millions. Well, Jim, we'll see for sure. Debbie writes, no justice, no peace. The judge should have been removed. White supremacy on national TV. Carmen writes, no justice. No, comma. Justice has priorities in the U.S. Chris writes, no. Engagement of vigilantism was served. Donald writes, most definitely. And we'll get to some of my absolute favorites here. I just actually just picked up a couple. Michael's been looking for a lot of attention on some of my posts, so I'll go ahead and read your comments. This is literally from 3 minutes ago, buddy. Michael says, is this really even a question? Well, we have a variety of answers from a variety of folks from a variety of places across the country. And yes, Michael, it really is a question, an opinion question, of course, and your opinion is just as valid as the previous person's, and unfortunately, even the next. This is from my new friend Timmy. Timmy has been speaking a lot to me on social media. I believe this might be a mild form of trolling. Certainly friendly, but we'll just jump right into it. We had a little banter between me and Timmy, so he makes a response to my poll question. I respond, and it's cute. So Tim writes, this is a sales site. Now, I mentioned before that I post in political groups, and some in media groups, but then also in some local groups, just depending on whether it's political or for media or for the sales groups, because I also run other businesses as well, kind of known as well, anyone who actually personally knows me, specifically in the local area, knows that I'm kind of known for business management, but that's beside the point. Sales, marketing, that kind of thing, but we'll get to that. So Tim writes, this is a sales site. Why the administration has banned this guy yet? Assume that means why the administration has not banned this guy yet, meaning that admin should ban me. Why the administration has banned this guy yet is beyond me. My response, Tim doesn't know about the history of marketplaces. This is the discussion section. Welcome. And of course, borrowed this from someone who comments in some of these local marketplace discussion sections. Made a great argument, and so I borrowed that from him. So I'll hit you in the DMs later. So Tim responds, Chainsaw, you are absolutely right. I'm not some creeper that skirts the bylaws of groups only to post divisive topics on a regular basis. And this is where I got the skirting the bylaws when it came to how Kyle Rittenhouse ended up not getting charged with, possession of a firearm because they skirted, what he did with possessing that firearm would have been very much illegal in Illinois. But of course, he didn't come into possession of the firearm until he got to Wisconsin. So I guess that's okay, unless Tim catches me doing it. But of course, it's not so much the bylaws of the group. It's open to discussion, and has been that way long before I've been posting on social media in this particular area. So I respond, of course, Tim doesn't know that I also sell products and services, which I do. That's the thing. I run ads for the products and services that I sell, but we're still working things out. Getting to know you phase. So a bright future ahead possibly. So Tim continues to write, or I continue to respond to Tim. Most of the topics I discuss should not be divisive. I hate to think that anyone is personally offended by the fact that I may not always disagree with them. Perhaps we just aren't a good match. To be fair, Tim, I'll say it's not you, it's me. Kimberly writes, and this is a big one, not big on paragraphs, but she did have a lot to say, so I do appreciate that. Again, as I said, even if we disagree on some things, or all things, doesn't matter, opinions, are welcome, specifically when I ask for them. Definitely welcome. Kimberly writes, yes, I think justice was served. If you watch the videos taken by reporters who were there when it was unfolding, you can see that the young man was attacked and chased down. Those pursuing him were using deadly force and had weapons. Even a skateboard can be considered a weapon and could be used to kill a person when smashed into their head, which the video shows the man trying to do. The young man showed great restraint in using his weapon and only opened fire on those with weapons who were actively attacking him. This trial was not just about what happened that night, but also could have been used to determine our rights as American citizens to self-defense, in that the prosecutor tried to prove that because the young man had brought a weapon into a dangerous situation, he had forfeited his right to self-defense because carrying the weapon on a person meant he was looking for a fight. Next. So that could eventually have led to being sued. That's difficult. So that could eventually have led to being used to take away a person's right to conceal carry, or where legal, as in Missouri and Wisconsin, open carry as a means of proactive protection. Sure. Again, may not disagree with a lot of this. Some at the end was a little bit unique. I would, of course, just ask that, obviously, the shooting of Rosenbaum, it's coming right at him. I can't imagine a jury that would disagree that could have been, just based on the evidence and the way that the laws are written. That very much does seem like, that could be considered self-defense. And I totally get why that would be the stance of the jury. But it begs the question, does Huber and Grosskreutz also not have the right to defend themselves from what they had denounced themselves to be an active shooter situation with an armed person who was alleged to have been an active shooter by other members of the crowd, inherently defending themselves and others around them? See, that's the problem with the Castle Doctrine, is that it really only protects those who survived to testify. Truly. So that's the thing. And so Carol writes, I'm thoroughly disgusted with the justice system in this country. It never fails to shock and disappoint me. And I believe we'll get to the last one here, because this is probably one that piqued my interest, possibly the most. But we'll get to that in just a second. I did have one more that I did want to share with the class here. Let's see if I can pull this up. Nope, that was it. It was Carol's. Okay, and so lastly, Frank writes, he is instantly wealthy. First the book, then the movie, then the merch, t-shirts, hoodies, maybe even an autographed Kyle Rittenhouse model AK-47. And I kind of expect to see a lot of that on these local marketplaces that Timmy is so fond of defending against a political discussion within, because I've already seen a lot of this sort of thing. And keeping in mind, I mentioned in last night's show and did an entire show previously about how I found the outlaw Josie Wales telling tall tales about CRT being taught to third graders in southern Missouri elementary schools. That happened right here. So I hope that Timmy had a lot to say to the outlaw Josie Wales about talking about politically divisive subject matter that's also complete and utter trash it's a live stream that dumbass made up completely on his own. Again, evidenced by the evidence that he put forward as CRT, with an absolute lack of knowledge of what CRT actually is. But anyway, moving on. So Frank writes, he's instantly wealthy. First the book, then the movie, then the merch, t-shirts, hoodies, maybe even an autographed Kyle Rittenhouse model AK-47. Probably going to be signed by McCloskey. Frank didn't write that, but that's just my interjection. I'm going to stop there. Followed by a career in motivational speaking at far but growing nearer right groups. He will become a columnist for Soldier of Fortune magazine, and his autobiography will be titled Vigilantism for Fun and Profit. Frank, boy, you've said it all, my friend. That was fantastic. And very, very near reality. Based on what we've seen in the past. I mean, look at Mark McCloskey. The guy wants to be a freaking senator now. What else do you need? But so let's just jump right into this here. So we've looked at some of the protests. They're still looking like they're mostly just discussions, heated discussions at times. There were a few of these videos of folks, getting a little loud, but nothing too god awful here. So let's just jump right into this, and we'll go ahead and close up shop for tonight. So, nope. Here we go. So I found this. Speaking of Mikey P, I don't know if you guys have heard recently that he's kind of mulling over the concept of whether or not he wants to, extend unemployment benefits for those folks who may end up losing their jobs because of the whole vaccine mandate thing here in the state of Missouri. So we'll get into that, but let's just take a look here at Mikey P at a glance. So he posts to his Twitter feed, we didn't force businesses to shut their doors or Missourians out of the workforce. Thanks to our common sense measures, Missouri is now in a strong economic position with a 3.4% unemployment rate, thousands of new jobs created, and billions of dollars in business investment. So we didn't force businesses to shut their doors or Missourians out of the workforce. Okay. So is that true, though? Depends on what we call, true. This was, and I wish that this was a bit of a wider screen here. Per the live stream, apologize for that. This comes from governor.mo.gov. This is Governor Parsons' stay-at-home order. Does anybody remember that? It was issued on April 3rd of 2020. Are our memories just that short that we can't remember just over a year ago what happened when we sat on our fat asses last year? I guess not. And here's the proof that's in the pudding. Folks can't be bothered by discussing whether or not we're reopening. You can't reopen if you were never closed. So we'll jump right into that. So Governor Parsons' order, this is from Jefferson City again, issued April 3rd, 2020, building on Missouri's efforts to control, contain, and combat COVID-19. Governor Mikey P. today issues a statewide stay-at-home order, effective beginning 12:01 a.m. on Monday, April 6, 2020, until 11:59 p.m. on Friday, April 24th, 2020. The order explicitly states that individuals currently residing within the state of Missouri shall avoid leaving their homes or places of residence unless necessary. First and foremost, I want everyone to know that I love this state and the people of this state. Governor Parsons said, "The people of this great state clearly define who we are in Missouri, and as governor, I have no greater responsibility than to protect the wealth, well-being, and safety of all Missourians. In order to protect public health and prevent the further spread of COVID-19, Governor Parsons' orders include specific guidance for staying home, social distancing, businesses and employees, schools, restaurants, firearms, sales, and state government buildings. Among other guidelines, individuals currently residing within the state of Missouri shall avoid leaving their homes or places of residence. All individuals in the state of Missouri shall avoid social gatherings of more than 10 people. All public and charter schools must remain closed for the duration of the order. Any entity does not employ individuals to perform essential work functions as set forth in guidance provided by the federal government shall adhere to the limitations on social gatherings and social distance. Any entity that employs individuals to perform essential worker functions and that is engaged in retail sales to the public shall limit the number of individuals in any particular retail location as follows: 25% or less of the entity's authorized fire or building code occupancy, as set by local authorities for a retail location with square footage of less than 10,000 square feet. 10% or less of the entity's authorized fire or building code occupancy is set by local authorities for a retail location with square footage of 10,000 square feet. The order does not prohibit Missourians from accessing essential services such as grocery stores, gas stations, banks, or engaging in outdoor recreation, provided that necessary precautions are taken and maintained to reduce the transmission of COVID-19, including observing the social gathering and social distancing requirements as set forth in the order." So, what Governor Mikey P. did not force businesses to shut their doors or Missourians out of the workforce, then what is this big reopening thing about? What are they even talking about? How could that be a thing? How could you reopen if you never force folks to shut their doors? Now, this month, they did mention the federal government, so that must just be the big government. Biden. This is 2020. Biden wasn't anybody back in 2020. He was, and at this time in 2020, I mean, the guy was probably, he was probably cleaning bathrooms or something. I mean, he wasn't a congressman. He wasn't, wasn't a senator. He wasn't a mayor. He wasn't a county coroner. He might have been a janitor. I have no idea. I have no idea what a vice president does, after they leave office. Oh, wait. That's what they do. They hang out with these guys. Great to hear Mike Pence speak last night on the fight for freedom and to connect with him again. I guess after the disconnection, am I right? So that's fun. So just to be picking on Mikey P, let's just jump right into the subject at hand. So, and the best way to do that, let me pull this up here. Let's take a look at. I did not even have this prepared, even in the least bit. So I'm winging this with you. Let's see. Where is that little nugget of gold? I'm kind of bored, folks. We're just going to watch some YouTube videos real quick. Remember them good old days? Let's see. Where's this at? No. Let's see. See if I can find it. Is this it? Yeah, this is the one. Okay. So let's see. This is pulled directly from, believe it or not, the TikTok page there. So let's see. Let's see if I can swing this over to this side. Oh, there we go. There we go. Before we pick on Mikey P too much, I just want to make a reference on something. So let's see. And don't worry, I'll listen to this one with you. This is the unemployment lawsuit shutdown. This is a video I posted back in September.
Party of law and order? Are you freaking kidding me? Missouri state law is calamity. I mean, what more is there to say? What's up, everybody? This is your boy Chainsaw. Boy, this has been a long time coming. Missouri Jobs with Justice Group reacts after federal unemployment benefits not reinstated. Uh-oh. The circuit court in Jefferson City sided with Governor Mike Parson in a ruling on Tuesday, refusing to reinstate federal unemployment benefits that were cut in June. They were ended abruptly. They were ended for no reason when he first decided to pull the plug on these programs. And unemployment is virtually the same. Basically, what they're trying to do is find the fact of law. 288.010.
288.010. Write that down. 288.010. Look it up yourself.
Same. Basically, what they're trying to do is find the fact of law. 288.010. Title of law. This chapter shall be known and may be cited as the Missouri Employment Security Law. As a guide to the interpretation and application of this law, the public policy of this state is declared to be as follows. Economic insecurity due to unemployment is a serious menace to health, morals, and welfare of the people of this state, resulting in a calamity. The legislature therefore declares that in its considered judgment, the public good and the general welfare of the citizens of this state require the enactment of this measure under the police powers of the state for compulsory setting aside of unemployment reserves to be used for the benefit of persons unemployed through no fault of their own.
Through no fault of their own. Through no fault of their own. People get denied every single day in states across the country, and also this one for getting fired because it was a fault of their own. If you're late for work and you get fired because you're late for work, you're at fault. But I wanted to go to work. I showed up. I was ready to go to work. You're at fault.
Party of law and order? Are you freaking kidding me? In the administration of this law, the division shall cooperate to the fullest extent consistent with the provisions of this law with the United States Department of Labor. Missouri state law is referencing cooperation with the federal government. We have to cooperate with the federal government in order to ensure other cooperation with the federal government. Calamity. It was written in 1951. I mean, what more is there to say? Because the freaking state already declared that you don't have the right to do that. If you think that the unemployed are just a bunch of bums who, to tool the system, I don't know, like Jeff Bezos or Walmart or Donald Trump, or I don't give a shit who told you otherwise. The only way that you are successful in real estate, period, is by knowing the system and tooling that shit. This is why people who invest typically are in a much better situation than people who don't invest. The purpose of this video is to show clearly the law says what the law says. Cronyism is the word of the day. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
But yeah, so that's definitely a thing, right? I mean, through no fault of your own means exactly what that means. If you are, again, as I said, if you're late for work and you get fired, yeah, you was there to go, go to work, but you're late for work, so you got fired. So like you don't have a job no more. That is very much a thing. So let's take a look. And keeping in mind, despite all of that, a circuit judge decided that Mike Parson can withhold funds even though they were signed for unemployment. This was signed by, this wasn't something that Donald Trump just took his magic freaking pen and wrote out into the sky and said, give these people benefits until I say so. You had the House, the Senate, and then Donald Trump went ahead and signed. You had the House, Senate, Joe Biden signed for extensions for unemployment. And a circuit judge in Missouri decided that Mike Parson, with a wave of their two-toed hands, could just take that away from the tens of thousands of unemployed people whenever the hell they feel like it. And they felt like it before June of 2021. Before the Delta surge. And the purpose was because they thought that by robbing the poor of their unemployment, while we have, while jobs aren't exactly as available as we would like to imagine that they could be, that folks will just flock back to work. And what happened? What happened in every other state that decided to do this? 6 of the 14 states that we're about to talk about did that, and amongst others, I believe it was 12. Google it. Google's not broken. But all of the states who did this, of all the states that did this, virtually all of them saw an increase in their unemployment when the benefits got cut. Is that magic? I don't know. It sounds like sheer stupidity to me. But speaking of sheer stupidity and hypocrisy and Mikey P, let's look at this. So GOP state officials push back on employer vaccine mandate. Wonder how they're going to do that. Well, these jackwagons, state officials, reacted with swift rebukes Thursday to President Joe Biden's newly detailed mandate for private employers to require workers to be vaccinated against COVID-19, threatening a wave of lawsuits and other actions to thwart a requirement they see as a stark example of government overreach. That's government overreach. The thing that we just talked about, that's not government overreach. They're just breaking the law, and they do what they want to. At least 2 conservative groups moved quickly to file lawsuits against the workplace safety mandate, and a growing roster of GOP governors. The governor, attorney generals said more lawsuits were on the way. As soon as Friday, some Republican-led states had already passed laws or executive orders intended to protect employers they may not want to comply. The rule is garbage, South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson, a Republican, said Thursday. Through a spokesperson, it's unconstitutional and we will fight it. His state governor, a Republican Henry McMaster, said he's planning to issue an executive order keeping state agencies from enforcing the rule. States have been preparing for the requirement since Biden previewed it in September. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration requirements related Thursday, OSHA, call for companies with 100 or more employees to be vaccinated by January 4th. Because, they pushed that date down the road. They kicked the can. Because folks were just losing their minds. So they kicked the can for these morons. The same GOP governors, are just cutting folks off of the very much legal and very much entitled to unemployment, services. Failure to comply could result in penalties of nearly $14,000 per violation. Federal officials also left open the possibility of expanding the mandate to smaller employers. The White House said the administration has the authority to take action designed to protect workers and expects the rule to withstand legal challenges. Republican governors and attorneys general, and this is where the juice comes in. Ready for it? In Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Mikey P's home state of Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, and South Dakota, 6 out of the 14 states that cut people's unemployment early, real early, for tens of thousands of people in the state of Missouri alone. Because, you know, these states' governors and attorney generals said Thursday they would file lawsuits against the mandate. Daily Wire, conservative media company, filed a challenge in federal court on Thursday. So did companies in Michigan and Ohio, represented by conservative advocacy law firm. Robert Alt, a lawyer representing the Midwest companies suing manufacturer Philip Manufacturing and Tower Company and packaging firm Sixar, said both companies are already facing staffing shortages amid the pandemic. The mandate will make things worse, he said. It adds insult to injury and forces them to potentially fire trained employees, said Alt, president and CEO of the Buckeye Institution, a conservative advocacy group, states that they are focusing on the role of the federal government in the lawsuits they're preparing. While I agree the vaccine is the tool that will best protect against COVID-19, this federal government approach is unprecedented and will bring about harmful unintended consequences in the supply chain and the workforce. Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb has said in a statement, yeah, he's the one who lost the lawsuit because, you know, the workers got together, formed an organization, sued the governor, and they got their benefits back. But of course, you know, good old Missouri can't get a whole lot done with such cronyism, right? At a news conference, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis criticized what he called an executive fiat for the private sector. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds characterized the mandate as an imposition on personal choice, saying people should be able to make their own healthcare decisions. She recently signed a bill guaranteeing that people who are fired for refusing a vaccine can qualify for unemployment benefits. Let me read it again. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signed a bill guaranteeing that people who are fired for refusing a vaccine can qualify for unemployment benefits. What? At least 19 Republican-led states previously sued the Biden administration over a separate mandate requiring vaccines for employees who work for federal contractors. Several more filed similar lawsuits Thursday. Biden, in a statement Thursday, dismissed the argument from many GOP governors and lawmakers that a mandate for employers will hurt businesses' ability to keep workers on the job. There have been no mass firings and worker shortages because of vaccination requirements, he said. Despite what some predicted and falsely assert, vaccination requirements have broad public support. And folks haven't been leaving the workplace en masse. I mean, that was a concern. That was very much a concern, but there is a difference between threats and action. And so far, we haven't seen a lot of action. The administration has been encouraging widespread vaccination as the quickest way out of the pandemic. A White House spokesperson, Karine Jean-Pierre, said during a briefing Thursday that the mandate was intended to halt the spread of a disease that claimed more than 750,000 lives in the U.S. and has killed right at 5 times as many cops as anything else in the previous 2 years. But, you know, that's cool. So, speaking of which, and getting into that, so Governor Mikey P, I guess, just decided that was the newest cool thing that GOP governors should do, is take all that money that he works so hard to steal from folks from hurting American families who'd already lost their jobs, through no fault of their own, and had proven that they lost their jobs through no fault of their own as a direct result of COVID-19. He's going to take that money. Well, he's considering taking that money and turn it over to these dumbasses. Now, I agree with Republicans on one thing, that really the federal government should not be forcing this on people. There shouldn't be, the requirement for an OSHA violation with regards to whether or not people are getting vaccinated. These dumbasses should just be getting vaccinated. It's not freaking rocket science, folks. It's just not. Jefferson City, Missouri. Governor Mike Parsons signaled Tuesday he may support awarding unemployment benefits to people who are terminated from their jobs for not complying with the COVID-19 vaccine passport through faults of their own. So they get fired through fault of their own, and he's going to take the money that the federal government had already issued to people who got fired through no fault of their own, and he's going to give it to the biggest dumbasses in the state of Missouri who got fired only for being dumbasses. Now, look, I say that with a heavy heart, okay? Because a lot of these folks aren't really bad people. And it's almost mean to just say that they're stupid people. Because they were misled by bad people. However, pause for effect, it's 2021. We all have one of these in our pockets. We're all basically glued to the thing. I mean, if you're watching this at all, it's a good chance it's not going to be on your laptop or your desktop. It's kind of going to be on one of these stupid things. That being said, we've also got an entire system that is against critical thinking in this country. I mean, let's just call it what it is, folks. If you watched last night's episode, I went over, critical race theory and what that does and does not mean. Okay? It's critical freaking thinking. I don't have time to get into all that. I'm freaking tired. But we've got an entire faction, a good 23 to 28 to 32% of the country who is we'll say motivated against the spread of critical thinking. Well, without critical thinking, you really just have dumbassery, and somebody's going to do the thinking for you. And it turns out it's the bad people who are telling the dumbasses dumbass things. And then ultimately it's these dumbasses who are going to be getting everyone else's, unemployment funds that they cut from folks who actually did lose their jobs because of that thing that Mike Parsons said he didn't do. Remember a minute ago? How far back does that go? Earlier he's like, we didn't shut down businesses. We shut down businesses. Y'all need to just go back to work. Unless you're watching a whole bunch of Newsmax, then, I'm going to pay you to sit at home because, let's go, Brandon, right? Oh, Jesus Christ. You got to be freaking kidding me with this. But like I said, it's I say that with a heavy heart because it's not really their fault, although it is, but it's not. They were lied to, but it is their fault because, turn your freaking brain on already. But it's not their fault because there's so much crap out there that's just, and then there's an entire political wing, AG Eric Schmidt is doing every single thing he can to stop these people from learning how to critically think, and is specifically attacking the children. That's the worst part, is they're specifically going after the children to keep them from critical thinking. No real easy answer. But all right, I lost my freaking spot. 6 months after announcing the end of the federal pandemic jobless benefits and attempt to get more people in the workforce, Parson may be seeking to join Iowa and other criminals, alleged criminals, because I don't care. I in the video that I showed earlier, not the TikTok clip, but the long version, I do a deep dive on the Missouri statute that provides for unemployment. It also provides for other social services. So you can't exactly be cutting people off unemployment unless you're going to be cutting folks off of Social Security. And I don't think a lot of the senior citizens in this state would be real happy if you do that. But, in Missouri, we just do what we want to, right? Keep in mind, you didn't get those checks on folks on unemployment, folks who was, fighting all summer and, fighting with each other and, hell, giving me a bunch of shit because I tried rallying with you, you bunch of freaking dummies. You didn't get them checks, man. You wouldn't let Chainsaw help. You wouldn't help each other. You're so freaking scared of Mikey P and the corruption. Hell, I even got some weird messages from folks who were like that deathly afraid of retribution, as if the as if they were concerned that if they post stuff on social media that somebody was gonna do something to them in a what gave off the impression of a bodily harm type of way. And I'm thinking to myself, film it. You got a camera, Facebook Live that stuff. I don't know. If the Klan comes to your house and starts burning things, put it on Facebook. Somebody's gonna care. But you should start with you. But that's beside the point. I'm going on a tangent there. But yeah, so the law clearly states that it's I guess it's up for interpretation, but the law clearly states what it does. But hearing Governor Mike Parsons, Missouri, he makes the law. It's his money. You didn't get the check, so it's his check now. Just look at what was it, $46 billion that was being withheld since March of last year that he just issued to hospitals across the state. I think it was about August. He's just been holding on to like billions of dollars because it's his freaking money. He ain't trying to give it to you. He does what he wants around here. This is his town. He's the sheriff. He's the governor now. He's the freaking king, the god emperor of Missouri. Always open to making improvements to any program in state government, especially when it comes to protecting the workforce from overreaching federal vaccine mandates. Parsons spokeswoman Kelly Jones said Tuesday, the suggestion came as workers at businesses with more than 100 employees. We know this already. The Biden administration has been encouraging widespread vaccinations, and the other guys have been saying all kinds of stupid things on TV. Private businesses, healthcare companies, and others are also mandating vaccinations, but Missouri's rate of fully vaccinated people remains below the 50% level, despite medical evidence that the vaccines are safe and effective. And Donald Trump took it, and he told you to take it, and then he got booed, and then Alex Jones was like, Donald Trump's a dumbass, and but nobody watches Alex Jones except for the real crazies, and they didn't even catch on to that. But that's a thing. Jones did not address whether the administration believes, not Alex Jones, just for reference there, because I was talking about Alex Jones. So we'll just leave it at that. Parsons spokeswoman Kelly Jones did not address whether the administration believes such a maneuver could be done without involving the legislature, which is not currently in session, or whether or not that would even be legal, whether they have the legislature or not, considering, what they did before without the legislature. And he just has a judge that is in the same county that he's, kicking it in his governor's mansion. Yeah. All right. People need to work. But should not be forced to choose between their job and allowing the Biden administration to dictate their personal health decisions, Jones said. People do need to work, but they should not be forced to choose between freaking starvation and Mikey P holding on to them checks, doing whatever he wants to. Parson may be looking at Iowa for guidance on his position. In October, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signed a new law allowing Iowa workers to seek medical and religious exemptions from COVID-19 vaccine mandates, and guarantees that those who are fired for refusing a vaccine will qualify for unemployment benefits. I'll tell you the problem with this here in a second. Reynolds, a Republican, signed the bill a day after the Iowa legislature approved it during one day's special session convened to act on the state's redistricting maps. The law became effective immediately. Like Parson, Reynolds also opposed government requirements for mass vaccines, despite medical science showing both tools are effective in reducing the spread of coronavirus. Tennessee lawmakers have also approved legislation ensuring people who are fired because they refuse to get the coronavirus vaccine that they will be eligible for unemployment benefits. Parson is backing the lawsuit filed by Republican Attorney General Eric Schmidt that challenges Biden administration's vaccine requirement. In cutting off federal pandemic unemployment benefits in June, Parson said he was trying to get workers back into jobs at a time when the pandemic's toll was ebbing and businesses were struggling to find workers. Business groups who supported Parson in his 2020 bid for a full 4-year term complained at the time that the enhanced benefits enticed laid-off workers to stay home. So super glad that was mentioned. So let's just jump right into that. You want to know what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen, because hell, I might even try this. So the first thing they're going to do, right? First thing they're going to do. If you can now get fired from a job through fault of your own, and they're passing legislation in this state. Okay, so that means that you, I guess, by vicariously, and I know the folks on the right, Michael, if you're watching this, I know you might be at some point in the future. Stick with me on this one, okay, buddy? The first option is that possibly, and it's a slightly less option, is that folks are going to be suing for their benefits if they get fired for being late on the job, right? And you know, that's one theory, and like I say, that doesn't really I don't imagine that there'll be a high success rate. But here's what I do imagine is going to be a high success rate, right? Folks who are vaccinated. Folks who are vaccinated. Folks who get vaccinated. Now, all they have to do is not report to their job that they've been vaccinated. Qualify. All you got, whether you're vaccinated or not, if your job isn't requiring you to show proof of vaccination, all you got to do is tell them, I'm not going to show you proof of my vaccination. I refuse to get vaccinated, whether you've been vaccinated or not. So if you prove that you're vaccinated, that's one thing. You can't prove that you're not vaccinated. Okay, the only thing you can do is not prove that you're vaccinated. So, no, I might just go get me a job at McDonald's and see if I can get me a check just to test it, you know, just to see what happens. I'm telling you, I probably am not going to do that. I'm 100,000% certain I'm not going to do that. And I wouldn't recommend that anyone do that, but I'm telling you, this is very much a possibility, and why this type of legislation and this kind of ridiculous thinking is dangerous and stupid and an insult to folks who actually do work for a living. Oh, wow. I mean, how could this actually passed in Iowa? The governor actually did this. What a freaking moron. How do you even do that? I'm surprised that folks in Iowa haven't already figured out this loophole. Just, you can get the unemployment if you just don't show that you've been vaccinated. Fake it till you make it. Act like one of the other guys and go ahead and sit there and, you know, enjoy yourself real quick. Watch that unemployment level skyrocket. And, you know, what are they going to do? It's insane. I mean, well, how do these folks not see this coming? I mean, it's basically they're painting by numbers the plays within their own books to show that their positions do not work, that their positions have holes. And I guess this is a lack of critical thinking on behalf of these GOP governors in general who are considering this. But Mikey P doesn't exactly seem to be like the critical thinking type. Yeah, so there's that. Anyway, listen, it's 12 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and I've been on this for a while, so we got to get the hell out of here. But listen, folks, if you like anything that I'm doing, if it's even just my hair or you know, the awesome lights behind me, this is not a phone, by the way. Do what the flashy sign above my head says. Subscribe, chainsawccc.com/YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, I love you. Thank you very much. And just remember, don't cry about spilled milk unless